continuing on. To simplify these. Okay, so we want to simplify these. You're plugging in some basic trig functions. So we're plugging in, and I always try to tell people to go with sines and cosines. Try to get them down to sines and cosines if you can't do anything. So, tangent is sine over cosine. So I'm going to replace tangent here with sine x over cosine x times cosine x. The cosines cancel. You have simplified that down to just sine. So that's the easy ones. The next one. What can you factor out of there? Pull a cosine out. So then I'm left with 1 minus cosine squared x. These basic functions, these three, are manipulatable. Because they all had cosine together. They all have cosines together. What's one? So like here, if I'm looking at this one here, manipulatable. So I could say that sine squared equals 1 minus cosine squared. All I did is subtracted cosine squared over. I can also say that cosine squared is 1 minus sine squared. Because I could subtract sine over. I could also subtract tangent squared over. So secant squared theta minus tangent squared equals 1. All of these are manipulatable. So if I'm looking at this, now that I've manipulated that first one, what does 1 minus cosine squared equal? So I'm going to write this as cosine x sine squared x. That's as far as I can go.
How did you do that?
Into cosines and sines, because I knew that 1 minus cosine was sine squared. So I just replace. A lot of this is just replacing. And again, they're manipulatable. And I know this is going to be difficult right off the bat. This is going to be a pretty good assignment. Chapter 5. More trig. More trig.
Why isn't there just a
Precalculus.
Why?
Because that's what precalculus is.
Is what?
Lots of trig.
Then why don't we just call it trigonometry? Or pre-trig?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot more going into precalculus than just trig.
Yeah, but it seems like we're mostly just doing trig, right?
2 chapters.
How many chapters do we do?
All the way through the book. All right, this one here. Tangent and cotangent. So I've got sine x. What's tangent?
Sine over cosine.
So change it. Sine over cosine.
Is it sine over cosine?
Yep. What's cotangent?
Cosine over sine. So those cross cancel.
From here, start simplifying. Let's distribute our sine through. So this one here, I'm going to have sine squared x over cosine x plus, here the sines cancel, so just cosine x.
What? I can't see.
When you are, so I distributed sine squared over cosine. The sines here canceled for this one, so I was left with just a cosine. When we're adding fractions, what do we have to have?
A denominator.
So what do I need to multiply this one by?
1. Cosine.
Cosine. So now I've got sine squared x plus cosine squared x over cosine x.
Wait, why did you do that?
Adding fractions. So you have to multiply by cosine over cosine for that denominator.
Why did you
What's this? What does that equal?
That's cos squared.
1.
1 minus sine squared. Wait, I'm confused.
What does sine squared plus cosine squared equal?
1.
1. What is 1 over cosine then?
1 over cosine is then secant.
Done.
I feel like this is a lot.